verses 39, Jesus Christ is risen in glory with a glorious body. Not even the best artist in the world could portray the king in his beauty. Any picture, even at its best, could never show how wonderful our king really is. Now, with all this paganism, what is there to do but to lift up your eyes to Christ? Now, among the nations, not only were statues of gods and goddesses in human form made, but many objects had a hidden or mystery meaning that were part of heathen worship. An outstanding example of this is seen in the ancient obelisk. Diodorus spoke of an obelisk 130 feet high, erected by Queen Semiramis in Babylon. The Bible mentions one in Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 to 7. But it was in Egypt, an early stronghold of the mystery religion, that the use of the obelisk was best known. Many of the obelisks are still there, though a lot have been removed. One is in Central Park, New York, another one in London, and some transported to Rome, in the World Encyclopedia of World Religion. Originally, the obelisk was associated with the sun worship, or Baal, which was a title for the name Nimrod. The ancients, having rejected the knowledge of the true Creator, seeing that the sun gave life to plants and to man, looked upon the sun as a god, the great life giver. To them, the obelisk also had sexual significance. Realizing that through sexual union, life was produced, the phallus, that is, a man's reproductive organ, was considered along with the sun as a symbol of life. Therefore, these obelisks were in the erected position. These were the beliefs represented by many obelisks. Now this comes out of World Encyclopedia, Volume 3, page 264. Now the Hebrew word matzeba in 1 Kings 14:23 is standing image or obelisk. Now in order for the obelisk to carry out their purpose, they were placed in the upright position, thus pointing towards the sun, a symbol of the phallus, the erect position. Bearing this in mind, it is interesting to notice that when divine judgment was pronounced against this false worship, it was said that these images shall not stand up. Even Schofield says they were given over to phallic cults. Now, placing an obelisk at the entrance of a heathen temple was not uncommon in its practice. One stood at the temple of Tum, another one in the front of the temple of Hathor, the abode of Horus. As we see here, one in front of the cathedral in the Roman Catholic Church. Now, this is found in the Encyclopedia of World Religion, Volume 3, page 3. Now, it is not a mere copy of the Egyptian obelisk, that is the one in Rome in St. Peter's Square. It is the very same obelisk that stood in Egypt in ancient times. When the mystery religion came to Rome in pagan days, not only were the obelisks made and erected at Rome, but the obelisks of Egypt at great expense were hauled there and erected by the emperor. Caligula in the year 37 AD had the obelisk that is now in Vatican, Rome, brought from Heliopolis. Heliopolis is but a Greek name for Beth Shemesh, where the Egyptian sun worship was prominent. Now the obelisk in St. Peter's Square, or as you see in this Catholic Bible called Nero's Circus, they say they have a real relic of the cross of Christ at the top of it. Now this very same obelisk that once stood at the ancient temple, which was at the center of Egyptian paganism, now stands before the mother church of Romanism. This seems like more than just mere coincidence. Now this obelisk stands on Nero's Circus, where the Vatican is. The Vatican is actually built on the same circus ground where Nero fed Christians to the lions. Now the red granite obelisk of the Vatican is itself 83 feet high and weighs 320 tons. In 1586, in order to center it in front of the Church of St. Peter's Square, it was moved to its present location by order of Pope Sixtus IV. Of course, moving this obelisk, especially in those days, was a difficult task. Many movers refused to attempt the feat, especially since the Pope attached the death penalty, that if the obelisk was dropped or broken. All of this information comes out of Pingators, the book called Ancient Monuments of Rome. Now this is the very same obelisk that we see here. Finally, a man by the name of Domenico Fontana accepted the responsibility. With 45 winches, 160 horses, a crew of 800 men, the task of moving the obelisk began. Now multitudes crowded the extensive square while the obelisk was being moved. The crowd upon the death penalty was required to remain silent. Finally, after near failure, the obelisk was erected. Now this was erected to the sound of hundreds of bells ringing, the roar of cannons, and the loud cheers of multitudes. The Egyptian idol was dedicated to the cross because the Catholic Church claims that the original piece of the cross stands right at the top of the obelisk. Now in the movie The Ten Commandments, the producers and directors were well aware that the obelisk was a symbol of the phallic sun worship in Egyptian mythology and tradition.
There is the obelisk of your Jubilee.
Now my friends, what you see up the upcoming picture is the circular court in front of St. Peter's Square. Now at the center of this court stands the obelisk. Now this court is bordered by 248 Doric-style columns which cost approximately $1 million. The style for such columns was borrowed right from the styling of pagan temples. Why elaborate temples? Why expensive churches? The Bible makes it clear that God dwells in us, the church. Now, even as Roman Catholic leaders borrowed other ideas from paganism, it is to no surprise that buildings elaborate and expensive temples also became the custom. Worldly-minded leaders thought that they should build temples of greater splendor than those of the old Roman religions. Even in the Catholic Bible it says, God who made the world and all that is in it, since he is the Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in the temples made by hands. Now why then the expensive temples, the expensive churches? Paul says in 1 Corinthians 3:16, know ye not that you are the temple of God, and that God dwells in you? Now understanding this grand truth, the early church filled with the Spirit never went forth to build temples of stone and steel. They went forth to preach the gospel. Their time wasn't spent on financial drives in order to build fancier buildings than the one down the street. According to Haley's Bible Handbook, we don't even have a record of a church building as such being built prior to 222 to 235 AD. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's wrong to have church buildings. Probably the reason they never did in the early church was because they weren't allowed to own title or property. But even if they were allowed this privilege, you can be certainly sure that they would be not out for the outward show. They would not have tried to compete with the expensive styling temples of the heathen temples. Now the word church has become so implanted in the people's mind that the word to most means building. But in its biblical use, the word refers to a group or an assembly of people. It's strange as it may sound that the church building could be totally destroyed, and yet the actual church, the people, remain. Now, the majority of the expensive church buildings that have been built over the centuries have all, in one form or another, been built with huge towers.